Get cool stuff for what you were going to do anyway. Drink beer. With Buy Beer, Get Gear from Labatt, you can just snap a photo of your receipt and upload it to the website to rack up points for exclusive merch. Get points for every purchase, whether you're grabbing a pint on draft, a case for a party, or a tall boy at the stadium. Any size, any product, anywhere you buy Labatt. Buy beer, get gear. Sign up now at rewards.labattusa.com.
ESPN Radio. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
And we are back for another edition, our Tuesday edition of Newhouse Afternoon. So glad to have you with us on Q Sports Talk on YouTube and Twitch. I'm Joseph Duffy, and as always, I'm joined with Hunter Caparelli. Hunter, how are we doing today, man?
Joe, we're doing well. The semester is winding down. Only a week of classes left for students here at Syracuse before seniors hit graduation. Students start looking towards the summer. And as far as athletics goes, the transfer portal officially closing tonight, midnight, for men's college basketball. It closed for the women last night. So coaches around the country, including Jerry McNamara, looking to finalize their rosters for next season.
Well, we're seeing so far NIL has impacted so much in college basketball, really specifically, as we'll get into Syracuse men's and women's basketball and their transfer things that are going on right now. But, you see what's going on with NIL and new AD Brian Blair talking about their plan and how they want to spend their money and creating, one kind of fund for all sports instead of specifically for each kind of sport.
Totally.
I think that plan could really help them really prosper in the future. So.
I 100% agree. You see a lot of SEC schools and Big Ten schools doing that same thing. These bigger schools with huge funds that have been able to generate a lot of revenue over the past few years since NIL was approved. And you're seeing it become very successful in those bigger conferences like the Big Ten and SEC. So I completely support Brian Blair with their initiative with raising funds for NIL, and hopefully you'll see the advantages soon to come.
And that's Blair bringing that business acumen that was hyped from Toledo all the way to here, and how he's helped surge their fundraising. I think he can help really bring Syracuse into the modern era with that style of NIL fundraising. But we'll start with the transfer portal, which, again, you were talking about is closing very soon. In Syracuse women's basketball, Shai Hawkins announced her return already. Still not a lot of players for Coach Felicia Leggett-Jack on the squad. Aurora Alamona, center for the team from near Miami, committed to Florida as of a few minutes ago. Nate Kings for Syracuse men's basketball has entered the portal. But, of course, the news yesterday was Donnie Freeman, the former five-star commit for Syracuse men's basketball, committing to Rick Pitino in St. John's.
Right. We obviously knew Donnie had entered the portal a few weeks ago towards the beginning of when the portal window opened. We weren't sure exactly where he'd be going. We just knew that it wasn't going to be Syracuse. We heard offers from Kentucky, UConn, and we knew St. John's was in the mix for Freeman. And it looks like he'll be staying in New York and going to play for the Red Storm under one of the most legendary college basketball coaches known to the sport. So super excited to see what Donnie does next year with St. John's. I think he'll hopefully be able to prosper under Pitino's system.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Rick Pitino, in my opinion, is the best X's and O's coach in the history of the game. I know that may offend some fans, maybe in Syracuse with Jim Boeheim. It may offend some of those who are listening of other teams that are fans of, like Duke, or say how they appreciate Coach K or Roy Williams of UNC. I think what Rick Pitino can do with any team, still at his age, is better than any coach I've ever seen in my lifetime. So I'm confident that he could really help unlock some more potential for Donnie Freeman and take his game to the next level. What we saw with St. John's this past year, of course it wasn't championship worthy, but we saw this team be one of the best Big East teams again for another year, and that was a dream for St. John's fans 5 seasons ago, what they're doing as of recent. So I think that he could really unlock some more potential for him.
I completely agree. I mean, he was honorary All-ACC this past year under Adrian Autry. He's obviously trying to get to the NBA, and I think one more season in college basketball under Rick Pitino, I think will do wonders for Donnie Freeman. You could potentially see him even rise to that early second round, late first round possible projections for next year's draft, which won't be as loaded as this year's draft. You're seeing a lot of guys starting to say they want to return to college basketball. I think that's a mix of I as we just mentioned before, NIL funds skyrocketing through the roof, but then also the fact that this year's draft is one of the most talented and one of the deepest drafts in the last 20 years. So you're seeing a lot of guys wanting to return to college basketball for one more season, like Thomas Houck that we just heard a little earlier ago, and someone like Donnie Freeman. They're potentially looking to get one more season under their belt this year in college so that they can hopefully go to the draft and get drafted next year to the NBA and not as strong of a draft.
Such interesting times we live in now, how a player like Houck, who was potentially a lottery pick, could have gone really high in the draft and saying, you know what, I want to come back for another year of college. And I don't know if you've heard about the rumors of Todd Golden potentially replacing Steve Kerr if he possibly doesn't want to return to Florida based off the connections he has with the Warriors ownership. Of course, he used to be the coach of San Francisco as well. So that's an interesting storyline to watch for sure coming up in college basketball. But also a new headline for Syracuse men's basketball as of late is Luke Wilson, an App State center, transferring to Syracuse. So another get for Jerry McNamara. He stands at 6'9", 255, a Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year center. So that's a big get, I think, for McNamara.
Yeah, that's definitely noticeable. You knew GMAC was going to need to replace Donnie Freeman once he entered the portal, and Luke Wilson's name had been circling a lot as of late over the past week. It kind of just seems it not if, when, and the news came out just about an hour ago from Appalachian State, averaged just under 11 points and 8 rebounds per game, and like you mentioned, Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. It seemed like he was the foundation of that App State defense, which ranked 33rd in the country in effective field goal percentage. And some of the other suitors that were trying to get Luke Wilson were the likes of UCLA, Purdue, and Seton Hall. So he had a lot of suitors for someone who was the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year, and I think it's a great get for GMAC.
And again, he wants those gritty guys, physical guys. You see how big this guy is. Of course, 6'9", 255, but a guy who can be a defensive anchor.
Yeah.
I mean, my goodness, that's what you need if you're a Syracuse front court player these days. Yeah. And so we talked about how they needed more front court guys last week. Here's one of those guys you want. And of course, they also got Abdranami Sebi, a guy originally from Mali, played in Serbia, another get as of late. He's been cleaning up so far, GMAC in the portal.
Yeah, another international get for GMAC. You add him to the mix. He was someone who was described as being potentially highly impactful defender with some long-term upside. So potentially a player that might not get as many minutes, will potentially back up Luke Wilson next year, but then could maybe see a bigger role in years to come. So another good get for GMAC. I like that he's mixing it up between getting players internationally as well as under-the-radar portal pickups within the United States. So big 2 gets there for GMAC.
Well, we talked about last week how some names may not impress some Syracuse fans, but you can't say that GMAC didn't put in an effort so far in this transfer portal cycle. Of course, Gavin Doty, who we had committed to Siena, a Fulton native, by the way, coming to Syracuse. Add Ryan Mesh, a Chittenango native, also hit their best recruit really in the history of that high school program. Gary Duell from McNeese from weeks ago, and then also Siena's Tasman Gooderick, another Siena guy, and then Temple's Aiden Tobias, and I was really hype about that pick and what he could bring as a forward here at this team, or as a shooting guard as well. But also Mark Morano, Mamudovic, another international prospect. So you can't say this guy is not putting in an effort to at least try to improve this team and at least implement his vision for what he wants to see.
Like I mentioned, a lot of under-the-radar picks, and I'm a big fan of addition as well as retention. So we mentioned last week they're going to be retaining Kyan Anthony and Sadiq White, and they're going to be adding a bunch of these players that we just mentioned. I know Orange fans were getting a little impatient over the past couple of days, especially in light of the news that one of their targets, Owen Freeman, had chosen Auburn over Syracuse. He was one of their center portal targets that the Orange were potentially trying to get, but I think the big pickup today from Luke Wilson, I think that's a huge get. I know there's 2 other players that are being connected to Syracuse to potentially keep an eye on before the clock strikes midnight tonight. Evan Chapman, 6'8" forward at UAB. He started 28 games for UAB this past season, averaging just under 10 points, 10 rebounds per game, which was 3rd in the American. So I think he would potentially have a good ability to crash the glass and help Syracuse's front court, as well as Devin Williams. Not not the closer for the Mets, Devin Williams. This is a 6'10 forward from FAU. He was a previous top 100 recruit out of high school who started his career at UCLA, ended up at FAU. And then last season, he led the American in blocks and shot close to 60% on 2-point attempts. So 2 other potential front court targets that have circulated. Their names have been in mention with Syracuse, connected to Syracuse. So we'll see if GMAC potentially can get some deals closed on either of them before the clock strikes midnight tonight.
Well, I sure think we'll be waiting on the buzzer for that one for GMAC, and don't worry, we'll get into the Mets in just a few minutes. But if you want to call in, please call 315-437-7644. Again, that's 315-437-7644. This is the Tuesday edition of Newhouse Afternoon. I'm Joseph W., joined with Hunter Cabarelli, and let's get into the latest MLB news.
Yeah, for sure.
My goodness, these New York Mets, what we are witnessing right now in Queens. Unspeakable. Longest streak since 04, longest losing streak since 04, 11 games and counting as of now. They didn't play last night. But my goodness, it is just hard to watch right now.
Joe, we talked about the Mets a little bit last week. I didn't expect that a week later on today's show, the Mets still would be without a win, and that losing streak would extend to 11 games. Obviously, not having Juan Soto has hurt them. But Francisco Lindor mentioned it, that the criticism surrounding the team, he thinks it's going to get really loud as they now come back for a home series. You saw the game against the Cubs that Devin Williams blew a 9th-inning lead. That resulted in a loss. And you mentioned it's the longest losing streak since 2004, so 22 years. So tough going right now for the Mets. Are in last place in the NL, but I think they definitely have a get-right series this week. Hopefully break that losing streak and hope that they could get healthy, get some wins in the column. And it's still a super long season. Obviously, like, things aren't looking great now in a pretty deep NL league. But, I mean, at this point, I think you just got to break the losing streak, get one win, and just work your way from there.
Well, the NL Central in specific is so deep because all of them have winning records.
Yep.
But the NL East is a little bit different. You see a team like the New York Mets who are really struggling right now. They'll play against the Minnesota Twins in Flushing at Citi Field at 7:10 Eastern Standard Time. Let's see if that streak can come to an end. But a team, I think
they're not great, but they've been all right this year.
Yeah, they've been all right as well. And a team at some times that have surprised people.
Yeah.
And their ownership hasn't exactly been friendly with the fans who want them to spend a little bit more.
Yeah.
But so far this year, they haven't played that bad.
Yeah.
But move on to another team who I think is not getting nearly the slander they deserve. I think the Kansas City Royals. And you saw how they played against Baltimore in the last few days. They conclude that series today. But how they've played this season has just been unbelievable. And look, they don't have the payroll that New York has, but they have talent. This is a team that people thought was going to be really good again this year because of how well their players were performing in the WBC.
Right, yeah.
You had Salvador Perez win a title with Venezuela. You had the Pasquatch, Vinny Pasquantino, Bobby Witt, obviously going to play well for Team USA. And so far this year, the team has just looked very bad. An 8-game losing streak, I believe, as it stands right now.
It was definitely a get-right series from the Yankees' perspective when they played the Royals this past week. Bobby Witt's obviously the huge name, so you could hopefully maybe see him take another step this year. He played well in the WBC, but similar to Mets, just not being able to get wins in the column. They're allowing a lot of runs. This past series against the Yankees, they got shut out 7-0. Before that, lost 13-4, and this was against a Yankees team that was struggling to get wins of their own. So tough going right now for the Royals between them and the Mets, two teams that just can't seem to buy a win.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable to witness right now with the Royals. This is not a team I thought would start the way they have. And also, the AL West right now is looking like the AL Central, really, of a few years ago. Very mid competition right now between the Rangers and the A's. The Astros are not off to a hot start as well. Their pitching staff is looking very suspect so far. The Angels have been very up and down, and then the Mariners offense, leaves a lot to be desired. And so when you look at the AL as a whole right right now, it's just looking like a very uninspired league right now.
100%.
The Dodgers are doing what they do best, just win ball games at any cost, no matter if they have those injuries or not. And so far, this has been an interesting start to the league.
Well, even if you look at like the run differential between the AL and the NL, there's only 6 teams in the AL total that have a positive run differential. Compare that to the NL, where over half of the NL teams have a positive run differential. So that's connecting over to the records. You're seeing divisions like you just mentioned with teams that are barely over 500, but it also leaves a possibility for teams, like the Mariners, who potentially are, they're 4 games under 500 right now, to string maybe a couple wins together and take back the division. That's a Mariners team that was 1 win away from getting to the AL championship last year. So there's definitely a lot of season left, a lot of games left to be won, and I think a lot of teams are trying to figure out potentially who they are this year. They're trying to get healthy so that they can hopefully string some wins together.
I don't know if you've seen that meme about how different fans of sports react when their team loses, how NFL teams can be crushed for a moment, but they'll be like, we'll be back to next week. Yeah. Same for the NBA. But when MLB fans lose one game of 162, they feel crushed.
The sky is falling.
But I'll speak on behalf of those fans. Yeah. When September comes rolling around, you think about these games you lost in April. Right. And then you start feeling like, okay, maybe my reaction was justified because this team blew a save in the 9th in, game 5 or 6 of the season. And so that's why these games still matter a little bit. Yeah. There is a lot of time left in the year, but, how you play in April sometimes can determine where you're placed in September and October.
100% agree. Definitely looking forward to this Yankees-Red Sox series coming up this week. There was a lot of news about Cam Schlittler, the fact that it's his first start in Boston since they played against the Red Sox in the playoffs last year, and Schlittler had that legendary playoff performance, but his first start in Boston, he grew up in Massachusetts, so big news there, and obviously the rivalry between the Yankees and Red Sox still going strong.
Well, that'll do it for the star of our show so far, and look forward to seeing if these streaks of the Royals and the Mets can come to a halt here. Right. But we'll take a brief pause on Newhouse Afternoon, and when we come back, we'll talk about men's and women's lacrosse again with Robert Shabilsky. We'll be right back on Newhouse Afternoon.
I'm Robert Shabilsky. So still streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. Hit our stream chat if you have any questions, comments, opinions,
queries, concerns.
Yep. If you want to talk about men's basketball transfer portal, lacrosse, the Mets not being able to win a game, hit the chat.
Just gotta scoot over a bit, pal.
Ooh.
Just thinking.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's nice. You can go out from there.
Say it again.
Are you good with what I put in there?
Yep. Right on.
I saw the women lost to BC.
The streak is over.
That was a while ago, right? That was last Thursday.
He kept saying they were playing on Saturday. It was Thursday. Was like the ACC women's finale. Everyone played that day.
And so they played Virginia tomorrow. They beat Virginia earlier in the year.
Yeah, 6-5. Just got to find a way to get more goals on the board and win draw controls. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. How important is the ACC tournament for NCAA tournament?
I think they have to win the Virginia game at minimum to be seeded and host in the first round, which is important.
Okay. If they lose the Virginia game, then there's a possibility of...
They'll make the tournament, but they'll be on the road.
Okay.
Luke Wilson, baby, Tim Smith says in the comments. Indeed, Luke Wilson.
Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year.
From Boone to Central New York. Soft spot in my heart for App State.
Yeah, going to school in North Carolina originally for undergrad, they were definitely seen like the little brother school, like the little brother compared to some of the other little brother schools.
I love their football stadium. It looks so nice.
So cool.
Very scenic. They haven't had one of their signature upsets in about
that one and the Northwestern where they were playing temporarily for football.
Yeah.
I know that one was like right on the lake. So that was a cool one. Yeah, App State's always been a really cool one. They almost beat UNC a few years ago.
They had that one a few years ago.
They had them on the ropes.
Oh my gosh!
They scored a touchdown. Were down 1 and went for 2 to win the game, and they didn't get it. And the Heels came away with a 1-point win. Escaped App State.
Man, those battles you had to see with James Madison in person. Oof. JMU bringing the hammer.
Yeah.
Were you there in the crowd that day when they dropped like 60 or 70?
That was parents' weekends.
Oh,
I was
brutal.
I was at that game. My parents were at that game. I want to say it was like 90 degrees. Sun was beaming down for a noon game, and UNC was down by like 40 points at halftime to JMU, and there were Fire Mac Brown chants going on from the crowd. It was parents' weekend, so a lot of the older, parents had decided they were just going to leave and already go to the bars to drink for the rest of the day. And that was I had a lot of highs as a undergrad at UNC, but that definitely was not one of them.
Lay off my what? No, we're live, but we're not live.
Who? They got Abel.
He's talking to you and you guys like Hunter's on the team. Hunter's not on the team.
Sorry, UNC basketball just got another big portal get. Matt Abel from NC State. Shooter. He torched us when we played him earlier this year. What?
7.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
And we are back at 3:20 o'clock on Newhouse Afternoon, the Tuesday edition show. Joseph Duffy and Hunter Caprelli joined once more with our lacrosse analyst and Robert Shabilsky. Glad to have you back, Rob. What's going on?
I was fired up. Big week on deck here for the boys in orange. So let's get right to it.
Tournament season coming up for the women's lacrosse team, but we'll start off with men's lacrosse. And we didn't touch on too much and hype up this Colgate game that happened on Saturday in which they won 14-7. But what are some of the takeaways from the game from your perspective? Of course, some records being broken.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Joey Spallina, the all-time Syracuse points leader, and what a way to do it. Behind the back feed to behind the back goal from Michael Leo to do it. 308th career point to break the record that's been standing for 22 years, held by Mikey Powell. Joey's now sitting at 313 career points, so just really special for him to do that accomplishment in the Dome in front of nearly 9,000 fans on Saturday night. I think everyone in attendance knew the magnitude of that moment and how important that is, and I just think it's cool when you think about all of the great players to have worn the orange Syracuse jersey and rep the block S, and all of the greats that have worn number 22, for Joey to come here with the amount of attention and eyeballs and scrutiny that he's played under for 4 years, and quite frankly, since he's played with since high school, and to break that record is really cool. But like you said after the game, the record's great. It's awesome to get some of those personal accolades, but we have a job to do, and that's win a national championship down in Charlottesville in a couple weeks here. So I think it was really cool for them, and obviously we had a bunch of orange players taken in the PLL draft this week. 5 guys taken. Joey at 3, Michael Leo at 6 to the Redwoods. Billy Dwan was picked up by the Whipsnakes as well, so Billy Dwan and Joey Spallina will get to play together at the next level. You had Luke Roa picked up by the New York Atlas, so they'll get some stretch shooting in there, and then Dante Bone was picked up by the California Redwoods as well. So really excited to see those guys picked up and get to play in the next level, but obviously all eyes are on this game, and at Arlotta in South Bend on Saturday. Big ACC matchup to finalize those tournament seeding for the ACC tournament.
One of the biggest games for Syracuse this year, Rob. It's a colossal final regular season game. You're going on the road against the number one team. How much are they going to have to lean on guys like Spallina, Michael Leo, Finn Thompson to potentially get this upset win?
Yeah, you just got to play your game. That's it, right? It's easier said than done, but the Orange haven't won in South Bend since 2017, and Notre Dame was this thorn in the side of the Syracuse men's team for a long time, and then last year they beat them twice, once in the Dome, and then once again in the semifinal of the ACC tournament, but they haven't been able to travel to South Bend and beat the Fighting Irish. So I think Saturday's a big game in terms of the seeding for the ACC tournament. Also, I just don't think you want to be 2-2 in conference play. I think being 3-1 is huge, and the way things shake out, even if Syracuse wins, UNC's playing Duke on Saturday. So if UNC wins and Syracuse wins, they'd both be 3-1. UNC obviously has that head-to-head over Syracuse. Right. So I think it's more of just a confidence thing of, hey, let's go to Arlotta, let's get a big win, and then let's turn the page to the ACC tournament and lock up a top seed in the NCAA tournament. And the Orange are in regardless, but I think just for the confidence to go to Arlotta, win a big game, and show that, hey, we're really good in the Dome, but we can also win big games on the road, and there's not really a much bigger game than going on the road to play a number one team.
Well, I mean, I hate to call it a chance for an upset, but this is the number one team in the country, and they've been that way for the last few weeks. And you look at this roster for Notre Dame, who stands out for you, and who should Syracuse fans be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame has a bunch of talent, but offensively, scoring-wise, they've been a little inconsistent as the season's gone on. Josh Yago's really kind of that big name that stands out. He's a transfer from Air Force. He's in the Space Force. He's still finishing up his degree at Air Force and is at school at Notre Dame, so he's got a lot on his plate. But he actually got bageled at Duke on Saturday. He didn't have a single point. First time he failed to register a point on the season. But Matt Jeffrey, the sophomore, the 2025 ACC Freshman of the Year, Connecticut public school kid, he was on fire. 3 goals in that 7-6 win over the Blue Devils, and he is just a specimen. He's so big, he's so strong. All 3 of his goals he scored were basically carbon copies. It's like rewind, play the goal again, that's the goal he's going to score. He's actually on the football team at Notre Dame, and when he just gets to the middle, gets to his spot, he's able to knife his shoulder, get down the alley, get to the middle of the field, shoot and score, and when he gets ahead of steam, no one stops him. And the other guy that played really well on Saturday for Notre Dame is Dylan Faison. His older brother, Jordan Faison, plays on the Notre Dame football team. He actually is on the lacrosse team as well, but he stopped this year to focus on football and play spring ball with Marcus Freeman. But Dylan Faison actually graduated early from high school down in Florida to join this Notre Dame lacrosse team for the spring. And he's had some bright spots throughout the year. And then obviously you can't talk about Notre Dame without mentioning the best defenseman in the country in Sean Light. Last year, Joey really exposed him in the Dome. He had 4 goals on Sean Light, similar to how he did against Maryland, just that off-ball play. I think Sean Light's really good matching feet. He's physical. He'll throw checks. He matches feet really well. But I think he gets lost in the shuffle off-ball sometimes, so I expect that's a big plan going into Saturday, just getting Sean Light lost off-ball a little bit to try to take advantage of that matchup.
Sure.
The Kavanaugh brothers aren't still there, right, Rob?
They graduated, so no Kavanaughs on this Notre Dame team.
That's at least a positive.
That's a positive, but, it's weird thinking about Notre Dame lacrosse and without the Kavanaugh brothers, obviously. Pat and Chris, some of the best players to ever wear the gold and navy and wear the golden domes in South Bend, and won back-to-back national championships in 2022 2023 and 2024. So to Coach Corrigan's credit, he's reloaded with the transfer portal and has some really talented guys on that roster. But it's just weird watching the film from Saturday. Watch the game live, watch the film again, and it's just, they just can't score at will sometimes. They don't really have a dominant X-attack presence behind the net. Their defense is really good, and it's why they held Duke to only 6 goals. Thomas Riccardelli's been really great in cage, but just like, where is the scoring going to come from? Matt Jeffrey, that's the first time he scored 3 goals all year. Josh Yago gets bageled. So it's, where is that scoring going to come from? Can it be more consistent? I think, obviously, though, playing in Arlotta, it's a beautiful facility. It's going to be a beautiful day on Saturday. There'll be tons of people there, and it's the spring football game. So there's going to be a ton of fans on campus. A ton of people are going to find their way into Arlotta. So it's a big, hostile environment for the Orange to go into and hopefully get a big ranked win to bolster their tournament resume.
And you just mentioned the tournament resume. How important is this game for Syracuse looking ahead to ACC tournament and then NCAA tournament seeding and just confidence going into tournament season?
Yeah, it's everything, right? I mean, to be able to beat the number one team, that's something they failed to do when they were obviously able to beat the number one team in Maryland. They struggled against UNC. I just think you have to get a big win here, and then if you fail to do this on Saturday, you have the chance to get another ACC win in the tournament. But I think just to be able to say, hey, we went to South Bend, we got this win, I think it's a huge confidence booster going into Charlotte next week for the ACC tournament. No matter what, I mean, Syracuse is in the tournament, but there's a big difference between being a top 1 to 4 seed hosting in the first round and playing a MAC or an ASUN school, or being like Ohio State last year. They were a ranked host team, but they played Notre Dame in the first round. You do not want to draw a really competitive Big Ten or another high-level conference in that opening round. Yeah, you don't want to play an Ivy League team. I mean, Penn State's on the bubble. You don't want to play Penn State in the first round. So you really do want to get this win on Saturday, get at least another win in the ACC tournament, possibly win that, and get that top 1 to 3 seed, because Syracuse right now, they have the resume. I mean, the Maryland win is looking better and better every week. I mean, obviously, the loss to Hopkins on Saturday is unfortunate, but the Maryland win is still really helpful. They have wins over Virginia. They have the win over Duke. If you get the win over Notre Dame, I think you're pushing one of the better resumes in the country. I think that number 1 seed is really going to come down to Syracuse, Princeton, or UNC. I think Princeton is probably the most likely to get it at this point, but they still have the Ivy League tournament. We still have the ACC tournament, so it'll be interesting to see how things shuffle out in the last week of the season.
Is there anybody ahead of this game that's flying under the radar that you could possibly see having a good performance in South Bend?
From Syracuse?
From Syracuse.
I think Michael Leo played really well against Colgate. So did Finn Thompson. I think those are the knowns. I mean, Wyatt Hoddle's had a great year. I think he's someone that could really take advantage of some of the short sticks on Notre Dame with the invert behind the net. I'd like to see Luke Roa show up and have a big game again. I think when the top of the stat sheet isn't just Spallina, Thompson, and Leo, I think that really shows the embarrassment of riches on the Syracuse offense. I think you got to have guys like Peyton Anderson show up, put up 2-1, maybe 2-2, right? So just having everyone come to the party and everyone having a really strong showing on offense, then it's going to be those Syracuse short sticks, guys like Jake Spallina, guys like Jaden Kittleberger, Dante Bowen. Those short sticks are so important to the success of this team, because you have to prevent the midfield strength of Notre Dame with guys like Matt Jeffrey and Dylan Faison. So that's kind of where I worry about Syracuse a little bit, just getting burned in that short stick midfield department. But I think if they're able to stay strong, I think they'll have success on Saturday.
I need a big game from Jimmy McCool as well.
Absolutely. Jimmy McCool's got to see the ball early and often. So he's really been able to turn around since that UNC game, played unbelievable against UVA. So if he's able to see shots early and stop them, get them up and out, I mean, that's a recipe for success for the Orange.
100%.
I feel like this regular season just started, and now it's almost coming to a close. The final game against number 1 Notre Dame this Saturday at noon for Syracuse men's lacrosse, and then it'll be ACC tournament time on May 1st in Charlotte. Let's move on to Syracuse women's lacrosse, Rob. And last Thursday, the streak came to a close.
Streak's over.
Number 13 Boston College defeated Syracuse 7-4 and caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I mean, Boston College has been, again, they have been this obstacle in the way of Syracuse for such a long time, and it's unfortunate to be able to not exercise those demons, but I mean, it's the regular season. I still think that Northwestern win on the road, I think it's one of the best wins in the country. It honestly is at the top of that resume for this women's team, but it's unfortunate, right? You win 12 in a row. You have that unbelievable overtime game in the Dome against Notre Dame, trying to ride that momentum into Chestnut Hill, and it just, the offense never really got going, right? I mean, BC scores too early, Syracuse cuts the lead to 1, and they kept cutting the lead to 1, but BC's up 3-1 after the first quarter, and it just never felt like the Syracuse offense was clicking. They were getting some good looks. Shea Dolce, the goalie for BC, she got drafted in the WLL draft Wednesday night from the Boston Guard. I mean, she's unbelievable. She's one of the best goalies in the country. She's had a little bit of an off year, but she really showed Thursday night why she's so good. And you had Bree Peters find the stat sheet, Molly Guzik, Caroline Trinkies, Mackenzie Rich. They each scored a goal apiece. Only 4 goals, their lowest scoring output of the year. The attack with Trinkies and Guzik hasn't really been the problem. They score a bunch of goals. I'd really like to see someone like Emma Muchnick fill up the stat sheet. Like, you're one of the best midfielders in the country. Like, take the ball to the rack. Dodge for yourself, get to the middle, score. Invert. So it was a little frustrating watching the game. I think the women on the team definitely felt that way too. I mean, after the game, obviously they looked distraught. A 12-game win streak comes to an end, and they know that getting that win over BC would have been huge for them. But they have a big opportunity coming up tomorrow, right? Yep. In the first round of the ACC tournament, a little bigger than the men's side. They have 8 teams make the tournament. They'll play UVA, which was a defensive battle I think it was over a month ago now when they won 6-5 down in Charlottesville. So that'll be a great game. But I think Dan Guyette, I mean, she made a couple big stops in that game. It's just everyone's got to be on the same page to win. And I think the culture that Reggie Thorpe has instilled has been really strong. It's just got to find a way to win and got to find a way to have everyone on the same page. And unfortunately, all those ingredients just didn't come together Thursday last week in Boston. So,
yeah, Rob, you just mentioned they're going to enter the tournament as a 4 seed, playing the 5 seed Virginia Cavaliers. You also mentioned that they won on the road in a defensive grudge match about a month ago. So what do you think of the key matchup areas for this women's team? Is it draw control? Is it defensive stops? They've relied on defense, it seems like, this entire season, especially during this winning streak. What are the key matchup areas coming up for this ACC tournament game tomorrow afternoon?
I think the biggest thing, right, is that defense is obviously the backbone of this team and has been so strong throughout the year. So the defense to me is not even a question. I mean, to hold a team to 7 goals, I think, is really impressive. I mean, when you hold the team to 7 goals, you should win. But when you only score 4, you got to score more goals than the other team, right? So I think the biggest thing for me is just getting those midfielders a little bit more involved. I think Melina Cotter played really well down the stretch. Mackenzie Richmond has been really good. Obviously, Emma Muchnick has been unbelievable all year. So I think just getting the midfielders a little bit more involved in the scoring, not relying so heavily on those attackers in Molly Guzik and Trinkus, and just what can they do to muck it up in the draw circle and get a couple more draw controls? I mean, they got doubled up in that category in Boston last week, and when you don't have the ball, it's really hard to score, especially when your defense can make stops, can get shot clock violations. You clear the ball, offense has on the offense just kind of stalls out a little bit. You can't really kickstart the offense. So for me, that's the biggest thing, is get the midfielders involved, dodge to draw a double, and score more than the other team. I mean, that's some hard-hitting analytic work right there. But and just quick shout out to Emma Muchnick and Coco Vandiver. Both got drafted by the California Palms in the WLL on Wednesday. So really cool. Like, Dwan and Spallina will be teammates in the PLL. Coco Vandiver and Emma Muchnick will be teammates for the California Palms in the WLL. So really cool that they will get to continue their lacrosse careers together. I know they're both really excited to play at the next level. They've obviously been huge parts of the Syracuse women's team's success thus far this year, and I know it's unfortunate to face that loss and to kind of back your way into the ACC tournament a little bit, but I mean, this is a team that wants to make a deep run to Northwestern, to the Final Four. I mean, that's what the goal is at this point. Like, they are one of the best teams in the country for a reason. They have the defense to do it, and now it's just, can we manufacture a couple more offensive possessions and steal a couple goals here to win games? I think tomorrow's the first step into that journey of success this year.
So, well, this Boston College loss was the first time they were held to single-digit goals since that UVA game, which was on March 21st. That time, that was a win in Charlottesville. Let's see if they can make it another win in the ACC tournament. Going against number 20 UVA on Wednesday, 2 p.m. to start off the first round of the ACC tourney. Robert, thanks for joining us as always,
Absolutely.
man. Glad to have you on. Talk men's and women's lacrosse. It's 3:37 on Newhouse afternoon. When we come back, we'll talk about the NBA playoffs and possibly the NFL draft as well. We'll be right back.
Jerry.
Thank you.
Still streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. Chat. Paul, ask a question.
That was great.
Really score more goals than the other team. That's really
Hard-hitting analysis.
That's what you need to do to win games. You got to score more goals than the other team. Some fans don't realize that sometimes. Some fans will think that they could just win a game without either scoring more points or scoring more goals. No, you gotta get more hoops in the basket. You gotta get more balls in the net than the other team. Sometimes it's the obvious answer.
This is true.
Some big NBA games last night. The Knicks choked it away. They'll now go to Atlanta, tied 1-1.
Oh boy, I sure wish Trae Young was in this series.
Could start getting really loud in the Big Apple.
These New York fans still chanting "F Trae Young" when he's not here, man.
I mean,
Come on.
it's just trolling at its finest.
My goodness.
From the fans of New York.
Can't imagine how expensive these tickets are at the Garden right now.
Oh yeah, I mean playoff tickets always skyrocket through the roof.
Unfortunately, I don't know if I'd be able to go over there and watch them.
They're expensive enough during the regular season.
Yep.
Just to get in. The playoffs prices are insane.
I want to talk about the T-shirt scandals.
Oh yeah,
I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah, well,
that would be awesome.
I was like Trailblazers owners said they weren't gonna.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Wear the shirt.
I mean, like for the Celtics, Knicks, I know they'll sometimes get shirts. I know Knicks especially is a big thing with New York fans. People want to go to the games and then they like purposely go knowing like what there are. They already have like a planned fit basically, like going to a game. Especially like a lot of the women who want to wear like a super like cool jacket and whatnot, and then they see a shirt on a chair at a game. And they're like, oh, well, I don't want to put on this $15 shirt. I'd have my $300 Versace Knicks custom jacket. So
yeah, I mean, you see that in a lot of high-profile teams, rich teams. Yeah. I know one of our friends, Matt Davison, talks about how that lower bowl is often for like the big wigs, and they're all wearing blazers in the lower bowl of hockey matches for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it's very odd. It just infuriates you sometimes. If you just
it looked really cool in the Spurs.
Yeah. Some people didn't like it either. And I thought it was a really cool concept. Surprised they never tried that at least one time, in their dynasty era. But, they came back firing in the first playoff appearance in 7 years.
Right.
And starting off with a bang like they did there. It's pretty cool, shirt coordination there.
Yeah, really cool. I mean, you see colleges do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Schools do a white out, a green out, a black out, and then I know UNC, they did a stripe out this past year. They did a white blue. So I think it's pretty cool. Pistons have a big game tonight. They're already down 0-1. I believe they play tonight. Let me check that. Like 99% sure. No, they don't play tonight. They have a couple days off. Pistons play tomorrow night. Game 2 tomorrow night. Tonight we have Celtics, Sixers, Spurs, Blazers, Lakers, Rockets. That Lakers Rockets series could get really interesting.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Good. KD, a game time decision. And the days go on, it seems more and more likely we might not see Luka or Reeves in this entire series.
Shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
And we're back in our Tuesday edition of Newhouse Afternoon. Joseph Duffy and Hunter Caporelli to talk about some NBA playoff action. And, you know, it's been a really good run of it the last 2 days of the NBA. You saw a really good T-Wolves-Nuggets game where the T-Wolves kind of stole one in Denver as of late. But so far, there's been a lot of controversy a little bit. We'll get into the actual games.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to talk about wearing the shirts and how that has been a hot topic on socials. Some people go into the NBA playoffs to not wear the shirts they put on the seats, you know, prompting people in the Nuggets organization to say that we're having to stripe out or, you know, just wear the shirts, man. Wear the shirts, putting people on the Tron up top and pressuring them, bullying them in a sense to put on the shirt. I want to know your thoughts on that because to me, I absolutely love that. I love it.
We spoke a little bit about it during the commercial break. I really love it. I love what the Spurs did. If you haven't seen the colorway shirts that they did, I would definitely look it up on social media. It was really cool. But I think it's always been one of those things where colleges have found a lot of success with putting shirts on chairs and having students come into the game super rowdy and throwing the shirt on and either getting a white out or a green out or a blue out. And I think it's been really successful at the college level. And you're seeing these professional stadiums trying to do it in arenas. And I think the problem that sometimes happens is you see a city like New York with the Knicks and a lot of fans who are already paying a couple $100s to get into the lower bowl, and they're coming in with their super expensive jackets. They're wearing Versace, they're wearing Kith, they have these super expensive fits coming to the game, and they see a shirt on a chair and they're like, oh, I don't want to throw on this $20
It honestly
shirt.
makes me sick.
Yeah,
it makes me sick.
Yeah, I mean, it really does, because it does look super cool to see an entire arena, you know, all unified in the same playoff shirt that the owners and the team are providing for the fans. But, you know, I think the problem is going between college and professional. College games are obviously filled with a lot of students who are all for that unity of wearing shirts together. I think once you get to that professional level and you have parents coming in with families, they're just not as into the whole unifying of, oh, let's all put on this playoff shirt and, you know, unite in the entire arena.
And we already know how expensive some of those, you know, really rich teams' playoff tickets are, like in the Madison Square Garden, one of the world's most famous arenas. You know, those lower bowls are often for the big wigs, people who have a lot of money. They don't want to have their shirts on. And I was talking to you all, you know, off the camera during the break, really, about how we have a friend who's a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and it's gotten so insane that the lower bowl fans, you know, they come in with the big wig look, the blazers, and, you know, they're not going to put on the shirts, man. You hate to see that because a lot of people would kill to be in that position just to have a chance to see their team in playoff action. Just put on the shirt.
Right, I completely agree. I think a lot of it is we see fans coming to these games where maybe half the reason they're at the game is because they want to see their team play, and the other half might just be they want to, you know, look good for the camera and potentially just show off that super expensive fit that they've been waiting to show all their friends and family. So I think it's a mix of that, where some of these people are coming to the games, they see this cheap shirt sitting on a chair, and they're like, oh, why would I put that on when I paid a couple $100s for this Versace jacket? It's a shame, but I love to see, you know, the teams like San Antonio where it definitely came out successfully.
I mean, that's their first playoff appearance in 7 years. A team that was, you know, the standard for winning in the association. Hasn't been the same in the last few seasons, but they're getting back to that spot, and they're officially back. You can say now, having a 60-win season by way of DPOY, the first unanimous DPOY in Victor Wembanyama in NBA history. But it's not even just the rich teams sometimes. Even the Blazers from Portland, you know, Dwayne Hankins was who was saying that, you know, we're not going to do the whole shirt thing again. They've been cheap, and they're not going to send their road two-way players, you know, to play there as well. And so that's kind of shocking to me because Portland's not exactly one of the richest franchises in the NBA, and they're still saying that we don't even want to sell these shirts and have them in our playoff games. So that kind of surprised me because they're now under new ownership, and Tom Dundon, a Texas billionaire who purchased this team for about $4.25 billion. And this was a team that was owned by Paul Allen for many years. Of course, he used to own the Seattle Seahawks as well. His estate has officially sold that off after winning the Super Bowl. But that really surprised me, that team in the Blazers, who I've been mired with controversy this year as well. Just won't try to unite their fan base with the T-shirts.
100%. I think with a team like Portland, it could be a mix of because they haven't been there in a while, the fact that maybe ownership wants to see the team, maybe get a playoff series win and move and get to that semifinal, conference final level
Maybe then they'll do it, yeah.
before then they're, all right, like we're actually winning games now. Let's get the shirts in that, like we're in the playoffs. This is who we are type of shirt. So maybe they're waiting to see some playoff success before they start spending some big bucks on the shirts. Because, playoff success, that brings money to the ownership, the general managers, the rest of the front ownership offices. So maybe they're waiting for a little bit of playoff success first.
What's wild is that you've never had this question at all with OKC. They've won, pretty much since they've relocated from Seattle to Oklahoma City, and they've pretty much had these shirts for as long as I can remember, even back in the early 2010s, the days of KD and James Harden and Russell Westbrook, all the way to now being the recent NBA champions. Either they're wearing all white or all blue. It could be a striped look as well. So I always like how you can go to OKC and count on their team being loud and unified for sure. But as of late, we saw just some really good playoff action. The Hawks, as you were talking about, tying the series at Madison Square Garden. The Timberwolves also stealing a game in Denver, tying the series at 1. And then also the Raptors and Cavaliers. This has been a series that the Cavs have really just strong-armed Toronto for the most part.
100%. That Cavs-Raptors series, I didn't expect that to be particularly close. I know the Raptors were 2-16 against the top 3 seed teams in the East as the top 3 seed teams in the West. So I thought the Cavs would run away with that series, and that seems to be the case. As far as the Knicks-Hawks series, though, I thought that series would be close, and I think we're in for a barn burner of a series. We saw the Knicks blow that one last night in the fourth quarter. The Hawks, since the trade deadline, since trading away Trae Young, who seems to still be in the minds of all New York fans, I think the Hawks have been really good. They finished the season 20-6 before going into the playoffs. So I think the Hawks were a very underrated team going into it as a 6th seed. And the Knicks now, they're going to need to win at least a game on the road unless they want to go down 3-1 returning to New York. So a lot of pressure coming in on New York, especially after making that coaching change last year with firing Tom Thibodeau and bringing in Coach Brown. So a lot of pressure with New York. And then I think that Wolves-Nuggets series, we saw the Wolves steal a game in Denver last night. I think that'll be super interesting. A lot of analysts had that predicting to go 7 games. I think between Nikola Jokic, Anthony Edwards. I know Edwards has been dealing with a little bit of a knee injury, but if he stays healthy, I could definitely see that series going 7 as well.
What a job by Quinn Snyder and this Atlanta Hawk team, by the way, to add to your point, finishing 26, as you were saying. But also being that they were a team that has been really the personification of what mid is in the pro. There's always that meme that goes around how they have the perfect 500 record all time in the history of their franchise. They do have a title from decades ago, back in the 50s, but this is a team that is really down the middle historically, and they've been a perennial play-in team for the last few years since it's been implemented, along with the Chicago Bulls here and there. And so looking ahead at the matchups tonight, Game 2 of Sixers-Celtics, Game 2 of Trailblazers and Spurs, and then later on tonight, Rockets-Lakers. I'll have my eye on that one for sure. Yeah,
the Lakers-Rockets series, super interesting. Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves are both out with injuries. There's a good chance that they'll be out this entire series. So the Lakers are definitely down their best player and potentially third best player, putting a lot of pressure on LeBron to carry that team against a Rockets team that has been really good all year. Kevin Durant right now is dealing with an injury of his own. He's a game-time decision for tonight. The Lakers took Game 1 as the home underdog. They go into tonight as an underdog as well. The Rockets are about a 5.5-point favorite. So a lot of pressure on Houston to potentially get in the win column tonight in that series. But if the Lakers can keep the games close, LeBron is obviously still LeBron. He's a little older, obviously 41 years old, but I think the Lakers can make that a series even without Luka.
It absolutely sucks for KD, who just got hurt in practice. He's been through injuries, for the last few years, and it just sucks that he got hurt in practice after a relatively healthy season this year with Houston. That game will be at 10:30 tonight. Sixers-Celtics at 7, and then Trailblazers-Spurs at 8. When we come back on New House Afternoon, we'll wrap up the show with a quick whip around segment. We'll be right back in just a few minutes.
Still streaming live on YouTube and Twitch. I think the Celtics will sweep the Sixers. No Embiid.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I can see that too.
Man, Maxey doesn't have much help.
Oh, no.
What happened? Oh, that's fun. Want me to read it again? That's older.
This is criminal. Cotton candy burrito.
What?
That is nuts.
Where is that being sold?
Arizona Cardinal Stadium.
Oh
My goodness. Who is eating that? Straight up diabetes.
That is so gross. That is gross.
Nick Costa not loving the women's lacrosse talk. Wow, women's lacrosse, does that bring in any NIL money? I don't know if you meant that with tone or if you meant that as a genuine question, but
When he says he doesn't like the women's lacrosse talk, he doesn't like the analysis.
I don't know if it was the talk he's talking. He says,
doesn't
"Wow."
want us to talk about women's lacrosse.
It sounds like he's not liking just it being talked about as bringing in money for the team. And
well,
obviously it's a non-revenue sport, as
right.
are a lot of sports here on the campus. Besides, football possibly, and even then, not exactly a big revenue sport on the
But
campus.
it's not like we're just going to talk about the revenue-making sports. We're going to talk about all sports.
Try to, Nick Costa.
Yeah.
Can we get men's basketball center from women's lacrosse money?
Say that again?
I don't know what he means by that. Can we get men's basketball center from women's lacrosse money?
I'm still trying to figure out what he means.
Don't know.
All right, keep hitting the chat, though. We'll answer questions.
We will continue to. Almost done with the show on Newhouse Afternoon. NFL draft coming up.
Yeah, draft day.
Cannot wait for that.
One of my favorite movies of all time. What was the guy's name? The movie?
I actually have never seen draft day. You talking about the actor or the actual?
Not the actor. I mean, what's his name? Is it like Weaver or Sonny?
Let me see. Yeah, Sonny Weaver.
Sonny Weaver.
Yeah.
You've never seen that
I know what
movie?
it is. I've seen clips. I've never seen the actual movie.
Man. One of my favorite movies.
How about Diddy in the cast? That's crazy.
He's in that movie?
Apparently. Looking up the cast. Chadwick Boseman in the movie as well.
I do
Rest
remember
in peace.
so Chadwick Boseman is one of the main. He's the player that is falling down the draft boards. He's the linebacker, and then they end up drafting him number 1 overall. It's like a big thing. They thought he was gonna pick the quarterback.
Love Chadwick, man.
Yeah. That was a really good movie.
Yep.
And it was one of my favorite clips from that movie was the manager. There's some intern. And he left his computer in the manager's office, and he gets super pissed. It's an hour before the draft, and he takes the laptop and smashes it. And the intern comes in, and he's like, "Who broke my laptop?"
Never seen that. Actually, never seen that.
Really?
I'm surprised I haven't seen that movie. I know what it is. I've heard about it for years.
God.
It came out years ago.
Yeah.
Probably about over a decade ago now.
I love it. One of my favorite movies.
Love a good sports movie.
Yeah.
Underrated sports movie, Mr. 3000. You ever heard of that?
I haven't seen that one.
Bernie Mac.
What's that about? Is that baseball?
It's a baseball. He plays in the Brewers. Funny comedian that I really like. I love stand-up comedy. I know a lot of people don't really care for stand-up. It goes viral on some people's For You pages for the clips people post.
Right.
That's how some comedians get their exposure today.
Yeah.
But I like actually watching stand-up specials.
Awesome.
I'll try to make this really quick too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We'll keep it quick. Giants have 2 top 10 picks. So.
ESPN 97.7 and 100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Closing time on Newhouse Afternoon. The Mets look to break their losing skid against the Twins in Queens. That game will be at 7:10. And then the Yankees and Red Sox will go to battle at Fenway at 6:45, a little bit before. And then Hunter, the draft is coming up this Thursday in Pittsburgh starting on April 23rd. Should be a fun one.
Super excited as a Jets fan. I'm looking forward to it. They have the 2nd and 16th picks. So I'm hoping they potentially take Arvell Reese from Ohio State at number 2. I know he has a lot of upside, potentially the best linebacker in the draft. And then I'm hoping one of these top wide receivers fall to the Jets at 16. Not expecting Carnell Tate to be available, but someone like Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, I think that would be a huge get for the Jets. They don't have much receiver help outside of Garrett Wilson, so either of those receivers I would definitely be happy for. I would stay away from Ty Simpson. If he's still available in the second round, I'm fine with them taking him there, but it will be an upset Jets fan if they take Simpson as high as 16.
Not too big in the Ty Simpson train, to be honest with you. I don't understand the love or the surge he's had in media as of late, but all I know is my Cowboys need some defense help after last year. Historic worst defense in the history of the franchise. That'll do it for Newhouse Afternoon. Thank you for joining us in our Tuesday edition. For Hunter Caparelli, I'm Joseph Duffy. We're saying so long from our Newhouse SMC studios.
Did you miss